Hey guys, Tyraku here. I hope everyone's doing great. Today, I want to jump in and show you and explain to you a little bit more about Apothecary. Now, Apothecary is one of those champions where every single new player is dreaming of having him, if they understand how useful he actually is. And if they don't, I've actually seen this several times being asked, why is Apothecary so good? And when you look at his abilities, if you just look at them and you don't really understand the value of them, you may think, well, I don't really know why he's so good. What does he bring that other champions like maybe a Diabolist brings? Like, why is he so good? Well, let's jump in here first. Let's look at his abilities and see why he is so good, and I'll better break down things and explain it to you. Also, I'll jump into his masteries. Obviously, my Apothecary is not fully mastered, but I have built out his masteries, which I will show you guys here, and I'll also try to link it in the description below if you want to check them out. But Apothecary here is obviously level 50. He's not maxed out, but he does serve a very specific function, and even if you don't have Apothecary, this can apply to any speed booster for your arena team specifically. So first off, his abilities. Ability 1, attacks 3 times at random. You can see I have this fully booked. I'm trying to get Apothecary fully booked, so to go ahead and answer that question, Apothecary is 100% worth your rare books. Don't put anything else into him. Don't put your purple, your epic books. Don't put your legendary books into him. While Apothecary is better than a lot of epics, he's not better than all epics, and epic books are hard to come by, so you don't want to waste them on a rare champion. Not necessarily waste them, but you get plenty of rare books, so just wait, just be patient. His ability 2, on a 2-turn cooldown when fully booked, which is insanely low. He's healing left and right, guys. There's a lot of struggle when you're trying to kill an Apothecary in arena, especially if the other team doesn't have enough damage to take him down. So he heals a target ally by 35% HP. This heal can be critical, which this is huge, okay? So this says that you do want to build Apothecary, if possible, with 100% crit rate. As you can see here, I am not able to do the 100% crit rate. You'll get that from the gloves, but you don't necessarily want to sacrifice specific stats, and I'll get into his stat priority in just a little bit. If possible, gear him with 100% crit rate, though this is more of a mid to late game strategy, is gearing with crit rate to 100%. His third ability, which is possibly his most important, I'd say it is his most important, especially for arena, is places a 30% speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. And while if you've watched my previous videos in the past, you will know that speed is king, and it's the best stat in the game, and especially when it comes to arena, speed is super important. And not only does he increase speed, but he also fills allies' turn meter by 15%, which this is huge. So your allies are getting a boost to their turn meter, helping them go have a better chance of going first in the arena, and a speed increase to not only help them go first, but to make sure your team doesn't get cut in on, so all 4 of your champions in the arena specifically take a turn before the enemy, which gives you that much better of a chance of beating them. This is also huge in dungeons, because if you can take a turn before the enemy waves take a turn, then you can obviously see your chances of winning have drastically increased. This ability, huge in arena, huge in dungeons, massive in clan boss, especially if you're not trying to speed tune. Excellent ability. And then his aura increases ally defense in dungeons by 21%. Very good aura. Definitely better, especially as you get higher levels than your starter's 15% HP aura. Defense is huge, and you definitely want to have that if possible when you're in dungeons. Now his A1 is attacks enemy 3 times, and at first this makes kind of seem a little basic, but this is huge on Fire Knight, especially when you get to higher levels of Fire Knight, and the shields are like 10, and they are 10. So when you're using this, you're knocking 3 points off the Fire Knight shield, which is giving you a better chance of actually damaging the Fire Knight and being able to get through those stages. So Apothecary, excellent champion for Fire Knight for every single dungeon, just because of his speed boost and his healing. He's overall absolutely amazing support champion, especially for being a rare. Definitely a top tier rare without a doubt. Now let's look at his masteries, okay? As I said, my Apothecary obviously is not mastery, but I have built out the masteries for you guys, and I'll try to leave this in the description down below. And while you're in the description down below, guys, go ahead and hit the like button. It's right there. Just move your mouse up a little bit and click like, and then go over and click subscribe. Also, if at the end of the video you're enjoying the content, head over to the Twitch channel, which will also be linked in the description down below, and follow over there. I'm live every day from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern time, except for Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays at this time. Now his masteries, the masteries that I've built out for him are kind of like an overall mastery guide. These masteries are not specific for the arena, they're not specific for the clan boss, they're not specific for dungeons, they're kind of an overall thing. Now, if I was building him specifically for arena, say, I would definitely go defense and support tree. I would have the support tree with something like timely intervention, just to give him a turn meter increase in case the enemies do go first, so then Apothecary can boost his turn meter to hopefully cut in on them. Now, if somebody wants to see a different breakdown of Apothecary's masteries, let me know, but this is a very good overall guide, and since this is an early Apothecary, you're probably going to be using Apothecary in basically all areas of the game. So I built this offense tree, basically to help him get a little bit more HP. This heals by 5% of damage inflicted when attacking with 50% HP or less. I'm hoping that with this, you can make him live a little bit longer in the clan boss dungeons, maybe give him a little bit more survivability. It's not going to be massive, but it is a little bit. Now, Giant Slayer, you typically choose Giant Slayer when a champion's ability 1 has 3 or more attacks. Apothecary does have 3. War Master is typically 1 or 2, obviously less than 3 or more. In this case, we go Giant Slayer with Apothecary, which is very, very helpful. Now, all the support tree, we have him maximizing his healing, as well as some turn meter reduction on the Evil Eye, which is very good, and then boosting his speed and his buffs. I have this, the Lore of Steel, to help him get extra speed from his speed sets. And let's jump into why speed is so important for Apothecary. So Apothecary, typically his use, and like his biggest use for me, is being a speed booster in the arena. Now, in arena, like I've mentioned this several times in the past in my other videos, in arena, speed is king and speed always wins. And heck, this is even in most of the game content. If you're going first, your chances of winning has drastically increased. Now with Apothecary, since you want him to be fast, that's really what you're just focusing on, okay? But as you can see, all these pieces I have basically are all rare pieces. I've spent a ton of time farming Chapter 6, Stage 7 on Brutal Campaign, which is the speed chapter. Stage 7 is the boss stage, which when you do the boss stages of the dungeons, you have a chance of earning rare pieces of gear, which have 2 substats, which allow you the possibility of rolling 2 modifiers to speed. Now, it took quite a bit of time to actually get these pieces, but it's helped me put my Apothecary speed to 204, okay? And I don't even have the Lore of Steel Mastery, which would increase that 204 to like 209, I believe, 210 maybe. You can correct me on my math, but it's somewhere around there. It would definitely give him a little boost to speed, increase his chance even more of allowing me to go first in arena. And that's where I'm going to showcase Apothecary, especially is in arena. Now, when it comes to gearing, there's a few ways, in my opinion, to gear him. If you're very early game and your main use for Apothecary is going to be in the arena, or if you're like early to mid game, you really just want to maximize his speed. Now, you don't want to make him too fast to your other champions. Like, you don't want Apothecary to be stealing all the speed gear, be like 250 speed, and then your next person be 150. In my case, my second fastest, I believe, is War Maiden, and she's 186, okay? So that's a pretty close number to Apothecary. The only issue with having Apothecary way too fast would be that there's such a huge gap between your first person and your second person. It could allow the enemies to go between them. Now, if you have them somewhat closer like this, then the chances of them going first is drastically reduced. Now, granted, early arena, if your Apothecary is, say, 300 speed, which is absolutely insane, and if you're doing bronze arena, you're always going to go first, and say your War Maiden was 150 speed, chances are you're still going to go first. But as you progress later in the game, you kind of want to close that gap between your first and second person to go, well, and even the rest of your people, just to make sure everybody's going before the enemy goes and nobody gets cut in on. Because the biggest thing in arena is if you get cut in on, you have a much higher chance of actually losing the battle. If they don't take a turn, they're most likely not going to win. His boots, I'm not worried about the substats at all, personally. Obviously, if I could get crit rate, that'd be amazing, but I can't. I didn't get lucky enough. So we have 5-star speed boots, which if I had 6-star, those would go on him, no problem. 6-star speed, you have to have the speed boots. For the gloves, the flat attack, he's not using this, but it has 9 speed. That's really good, so we'll keep that. Ideally, this would be crit rate, because as I mentioned before, is that you do want crit rate on him, but in my case, the primary use of him is in the arena, so I don't want to sacrifice this 9 speed just to get crit rate a little bit higher, because most likely, and I'll show you guys in just a minute, I'm going to be winning in this first turn, so his heal is not going to be a massive game changer for the arena. Now, if you're running Apothecary in, say, dungeons, you may not need this 200 speed and may not have to focus as much on speed. So maybe instead of speed, you could swap out pieces to get more HP percent, more defense percent, and make sure your crit rate's 100% because you will be using his heal a lot more. Apothecary is not super tanky at like level 50, but when you get him to level 60, he becomes a lot more resilient, and putting HP percent and defense percent and things like that on him helps out quite a bit more. Now, whenever I do get Apothecary to level 60 and I do decide to push in dungeons even more, I will be trying to get crit rate on Apothecary, but at this time right now, his sole priority is being the speed booster in my arena, which allows me to basically win majority of my arena matches without much of a problem. Now, I'm gonna jump in here and show you an arena match. If you don't have Apothecary and you're watching this video, first off, awesome. I mean, you're kind of making yourself suffer because I know you would love to have Apothecary, but besides that, if you're using a different speed booster like Haikatoon or Diabolist, this is the exact same way you'd gear them. You'd gear them to go first in your arena. Ideally next you'd have a decreased defense champion and then a nuke champion after that, which my nuke champion is Kale. This person is doing basically the same setup as me. Obviously, if you had Haikatoon, she should be your lead champion. In this case, the only person who gives me an arena aura boost, is Kale, so I have him as the leader. Now this will show you how important it is to farm speed. If this Apothecary would have went first, it'd most likely win. But since my speed is much higher than theirs, I assume, because I imagine they probably haven't farmed the speed stage as much as I have. Granted, their Kale was only level 50, so they probably wouldn't have even won. But if their Apothecary would have went first, they would have had a much better chance of actually winning. However, since their Apothecary did not go first, their chances of winning were drastically lower. This match, I'll probably lose. I'm definitely going to lose it. I'm not even going to try it. This champion right here is an absolutely insane speed champion. Not only does she give a speed boost, she gives a turn meter increase plus a turn meter decrease. Okay, well, never mind. All right, so this is what I was interested in testing out. That champion they have is literally the best speed manipulating champion in the game. She increases their turn meter, decreases my turn meter, and places a increased speed on them. Plus, she has a much higher speed aura than most champions, okay? I have no speed aura, but yet my 200 speed Apothecary is faster than them. And you're about to see the value of a fairly well speed-tuned team. Granted, they're going to take a turn now, and they're going to do quite a bit of damage. This is not looking too good for me. But what I'm going to do here, I believe we'll just do this. This is a little bit sketchy. I think we res Apothecary. Hopefully he gets a turn. He's not. She's going to go. Yeah. So that's the issue there. We got a turn meter decreased. Not really much I could do. But if my Kale had a little bit more nuke power behind him, it would have been done. They would have been just killed just because they didn't have enough speed to go before me. Now, while that wasn't a good showcase of the arena team setup and how much damage and how often you can win, it was a good example of why you should have speed on your champions. Let me jump in here one more time and show you one other thing with dragons. Like I said, my Apothecary is only level 50, so I'm not running Fire Knight. I'm not running anything crazy like that, but as you can imagine, in Fire Knight, Apothecary is going to do amazing just because of the simple fact that he has a 3-hit ability on his A1, which is huge. I mean, if you're hitting the Fire Knight shield, which is like five ticks or whatever, when it's low level, a 3-hit to his shield is going to be no problem, easy destruction of the shield. Allow you to get into the Fire Knight and actually start doing damage to him, turn meter manipulation, whatever it may be. But honestly, Apothecary and my Kale, these two champions alone, can go through a lot of the game content. And Apothecary will definitely be one of my first few 60s. He'll probably be my 3rd level 60, just because of the fact that I really want my War Maiden or another damage dealing champion to be brought up to 60, because Apothecary has decent survivability without being level 60 in the low level dungeons. When you get to the higher level dungeons, Apothecary is just going to flop. Like, he's not going to be very tanky at all at level 50, but he can do pretty good. He's a little bit more survivable, especially since I'm gearing him to be survivable somewhat to a point. Like I said, his HP percent chest plate, you don't have to go accuracy or anything like that on him. I can wait till later on to take him to 60 after War Maiden. Now, if my Apothecary was fully booked, he would have his speed boost going up even more frequently. If his Masteries were done, he would have a chance to get more speed boost longer. Overall, we definitely want to get Apothecary's Masteries done. Very, very important. But I just want to show you that even without your Masteries being complete on Apothecary, he's very valuable in a lot of the game content. And if you're watching this, like I said before, and you don't have Apothecary, or you don't have, well, if you don't have Apothecary, Diabolist, Icatoon would fill a very similar role, especially as far as a speed booster goes. Now, obviously, the Dragon Stage 13 is not 100% completion for me. That's not a big deal. That's not the point of this. The point of this is just to show you that Apothecary has a lot of uses in a lot of areas of the game, especially when you get to later game. Like, he's absolutely amazing champion, guys. If you didn't already know, hopefully this video shed a little bit of light and showed you that if you do have an Apothecary, you do need to go ahead, invest the time in getting him up. I would be very surprised if you haven't already, but that's how I build my Apothecary. That's my opinion on Apothecary and how I would recommend most players build him, especially when it comes to Arena. Thank you guys very much for watching. Feel free to click one of the videos that are about to pop up. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you all in the next video.